Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending today's webinar titled Managing Stress in Uncertain Times. I'd like to say that at the end of this presentation, there will be time for any questions that anybody may have, and my colleague Pat, who works at Care First, is more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So research shows that uncertainty can be appealing during certain activities like gambling or reading a mystery novel. But the large-scale uncertainty that many people have felt during the coronavirus pandemic is much more difficult to handle. The uncertainty that we are worrying about has to do with our safety and the safety of our loved ones, and also for some, the prospect of redundancy. We don't know how long the COVID-19 crisis is going to last, and we are uncertain about who will get sick and who will recover and who will need to be hospitalized. These unknowns are too big and scary to process. Uncertainty interrupts our ability to plan for the future. Normally, our brains make decisions for the future based on our past experiences. When the future is uncertain or we're experiencing something new, we can't rely on past experiences to inform our decision making. Fear of the unknown can trigger a psychological state of stress, which often activates our fight or flight response, resulting in physical changes like hormone surges and an increased heart rate. Over time, chronic stress can have a negative impact on your health, increasing the risk of cardiovascular disease and memory loss. And if you are constantly aware and preparing for uncertainty and potential bad events, and thus constantly in fight or flight mode, you build up a chronic stress pattern and make yourself more prone to fear and anxiety. It's healthier to accept uncertainty during big changes, just like we do in our normal day-to-day lives. And even though life's unexpected twists and turns may not always seem positive, it's important to be realistic about how much control we really have. Acceptance can be thought of as the opposite of denial. We don't want uncertainty, and yet it's part of our lives. Acceptance is saying, I'm willing to experience this uncertainty and accept it as part of my life, but that doesn't mean I like it. Acceptance of uncertainty doesn't mean giving up, and it can even help you move forward during scary events like the coronavirus pandemic. Acceptance is an active, empowered state in which you are grounded in the present. We are not denying the situation, and we are not indulging in the emotions of it. So I think it's important to really kind of try and understand stress. What does stress look like today? What does it look like for you? How much of what we do and feel is actually stress, as stress looks very different to each and every one of us? And lastly, how do you manage it? These are all important questions to take the time to consider. If we think of a bath as our stress container, the size of this is dependent on a person's level of vulnerability. The lower a person's vulnerability, the bigger their stress bath can be. I do apologise, there are some images that haven't loaded into this presentation. The size of this is down to many factors, including difficult life experiences. The more difficult issues there are, the smaller the bath will be, which means it will overflow more quickly than for some who have a larger bath, and those individuals are able to manage stress a lot more easier. Here we go. So how do we empty some of that water and stress out of the bath? People can use exercise to stifle the buildup of stress in several ways. Exercise, such as taking a brisk walk after feeling stressed, not only deepens breathing, but also helps relieve muscle tension. Movement therapies such as yoga and Tai Chi combine fluid movements with deep breathing and mental focus, all of which can induce calm. Confidants, friends, acquaintances, co-workers, relatives, spouses, and companions all provide life-enhancing social net and may increase longevity. It's not clear why, but the buffering theory holds that people who enjoy close relationships with family and friends receive emotional support that indirectly helps to sustain them at times of chronic stress and crisis. For individuals that feel they would like emotional support from a counsellor, our counsellors are there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Another important tool that individuals can use is the lifestyle websites from Care First. The lifestyle website is a hub of information where individuals can find articles about stress and other practical issues as well. If you'd like to contact us, please use your free phone number, and as you can see there is the link for the lifestyle website. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, and Pat would be more than happy to answer them.
Hi there, Chi. Do you have any questions that have come up so far?
One has literally just popped up. Any advice for pregnant women during this time?
In terms of stress, I guess, and COVID, I think really,
Stress, yes,
yeah, I think during this time it's, and I know this is really much easier said than done, but it's to try and keep calm and focused on what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. I think sometimes we project too far into the future instead of just being where we are in the moment and just being aware of the things that are going on around us. So I think, you know, for you, just try and keep yourself safe and do what it feels right for you. And obviously, if you need any medical help, contact your GP. And if we can help at Care First, give us a call. But I would say try to live in the moment and try and focus on what's happening now. Don't project too far into the future.
That's perfect. If anybody has any more questions, please feel free to ask. So another question's come in. Any advice for keeping in touch with work colleagues?
I can take this too, or you can. I think really what you just need to do is just in the mornings, I know what we do at Care First, we keep in touch with our colleagues by a Skype meeting, and we have a couple of those a week so that everyone gets a chance to keep in touch. It's really important, particularly if you're feeling under pressure, that you know you have the support of the people that you know and that matter to you around you. So obviously colleagues are part of your social network in a way, so do keep in touch either by Skype or by texting them. There's so many new and different ways of being in touch with people during the pandemic that I think people have got much more tech savvy and are much more able to engage with other people, maybe that in a different way from they have before. So yeah, try and organize a team Skype meeting or something like that that you can actually see and speak to the team at the same time.
I know that during the lockdown we've had work quiz nights using virtual software. Maybe organising something like that would be beneficial as well. I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And another question's popped in. I am suffering with terrible headaches since lockdown. I've never suffered with these previously.
Okay. Have you seen your GP? Obviously, I don't know the answer to that, but you would. I think sometimes, I know Chi was saying earlier, wasn't he, about uncertainty? And I think when we feel not in control of a situation, or when we feel removed from something, it does cause us to feel more anxious than we would usually do. And I think during lockdown, people have felt very tense. There has been an effect on people's sleeping patterns, and people are seemingly taking on a lot of stuff that they don't really need to. I think we have to remember that people out there are doing their best to keep us safe. And in terms of the headaches, obviously, we're not medically qualified at Care First, so do check with your GP. But it's quite likely, this is not helped by the fact that we're on lockdown and that we're removed from people and routine that we're used to. And these sort of things take a time to adjust. But do those practical things like talking to the GP, and that may allay your fears. And if it's an emotional fear, then of course phone us at Care First.
Had a question. I've recently lost my dad to COVID and now struggling to come to terms with the fact that he's gone, feeling robbed.
I'm so sorry to hear that, and we all would be sorry to hear that at Care First. It must impact you terribly, particularly at the moment when there are so many restrictions on seeing the rest of the family that we love. It sounds as though you've got a little bit of a long road ahead in order to get things organised and to help and support family members. But again, and I know this sounds like a broken record, and it's not diminishing at all your feelings of loss and grief and upset and distress at the moment, but pick up the phone and speak to one of the counsellors, and they will support you in the moment. They will offer you various options. They will also talk to you about various groups you could phone and be contacted by and supported by during this really difficult time that you're going through. And again, my greatest sympathies to you. It's been a really difficult time for many people, and I'm so sorry this has happened to you.
Just as an addition to that, we did a webinar a couple of weeks ago labelled bereavement during lockdown. So if you've got access to the Lifestyle website, and if you look on the left-hand side on the home page and look at recordings, you'll find that that bereavement webinar, which you may find useful. I've got another question here. How to deal with setting goals during this uncertain time?
Right. Well, we've got a really good answer to this one. I think when you're setting a goal, it's going to be setting something that's realistic. I don't know whether I did a webinar the other week, and I was talking about goal setting then. It's really important when you go to set that goal that you're positive about what it is you want to achieve. But that goal also has to be realistic. And you need to ask yourself, is this thing that I'm going to do achievable? In other words, do you know you can do it, or do you know other people that have done it? And is this thing, again, whatever it is, within your control? Because if it is, it's more likely of you succeeding. And then sort of ask yourself the question around, is this something that I want to have in my life, or is this going to be me, the person I am? And then, of course, we have to think about the resources. Do you have the resources to achieve this goal that you're trying to set here? Because if you don't, it's not going to get off the starting blocks. So think of all the resources you have, all the things you're good at, all the things that you know other people could help you with, and research them. And the final one in all of this is the time scale. Now, at the moment, it's really difficult to set a time scale, but if we don't, we won't achieve what it is we set out to achieve. So I think we would suggest that you make a very small dent into that goal and then reevaluate and recheck it as you go through it. So first of all, is it what you want? Is it achievable? Is it within your control? Does it fit the person you want to be? Do you have the resources internally and externally and know where to get them from? And when do you want it by? And it's that last one that's key. So instead of going in for a massive goal that you want to achieve in 3 days, take it really steadily and think one little step at a time is going to get you there.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Pat. I have a question here. Any advice for insomnia or trouble sleeping, relaxing in the evenings?
Yes, I think if you think of, I don't know whether you're a parent, I don't know your gender, But certainly I know when I was a parent, we had a routine at night time that we put the babies into. For example, they had their food, they had their bath, they had their story, and it was quiet and settled time. And I think what we do as adults, we forget that routine for ourselves, and we always tend to be rushing around last thing at night, thinking of all the things that have to be done ready for the morning. So try and get into that routine of saying, actually, this is what I need to do for me. I need to have a warm shower, a warm bath. I need to have a warm drink. I don't need to be watching screen, at midnight when I can't sleep. If you can't sleep, of course, don't stay in bed worrying about why you can't sleep. Get up and maybe make a list, as Chi was saying earlier about the stress bath. Sometimes there is stuff in that that's too much to hold, and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when your mind starts going, you don't seem to be able to put it down. So try and make a list of the things that really are causing you concern, and then cross out from that list the things you really have no control over, and then you're left with what you do need to manage. And that in its way helps you to get off to sleep, because you've cleared your mind of the things that are possibly keeping you awake. That's just one option. There are many other ways of doing it out there, and I'm sure with all the resources you have as an individual, you'd be able to find more yourself. But certainly try that first, and then of course speak to a GP if it's really, really causing you to be restless and not sleeping at night. Just to point out, it is quite usual during the pandemic that people have been struggling to sleep. So please don't think you're different or unusual in any way here. Many people have struggled with their sleep patterns during the pandemic, and a lot of that is because they've lost the routine the following day. So they don't necessarily have to be up at a certain time for work. They don't have to take the children to school by a certain time. Although you still need a routine, it's different. So just try and consider those things. And if you can't get that sorted, on your own with support from your family and friends, and of course, speak to your GP.
Another question here. So it's what's causing me stress is getting too comfortable with this, as I'm an introvert and happy at home. But no, I need to socialize face to face to keep those skills active. So I'm worried about returning to normal. Any advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to remember that normal is not going to exist in the way we knew it before. And it's funny because I'm the training manager at Care First, and when I was doing training before lockdown, people were saying, I would say to them, what do you want? And they said, oh, if only we had more time at home, if we only had more time to do the garden or get the decorating done or do the chores that are just left undone, or more time with my children or more time with my partner. And now we've got it. There is, for some people, that wrench that's going to come when we need to return to the workplace. I know a lot of people are still working, and I know some are furloughed, and some, of course, have unfortunately lost their jobs. But for those people that are getting comfortable in all this, just stay where you are with it at the moment and don't project to what's going to happen next, because we really don't know. And I think, just again, like I was talking to the person about the goal setting, is just one thing at a time. Try and be in the moment. Enjoy this when you've got it. Don't push forward to the next thing until you really have to.
Another question here. Any ideas for flagging motivation?
I think we could all do with something on that sometimes. I think it's very easy and very comfortable to get into this routine and think, do you know what, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll do that tomorrow. But I think the longer you put it off, there's then going to be the rude awakening when we do have to do it. So yeah, motivation at this time is really difficult. So maybe look at doing a course online, maybe looking at doing a language, maybe take up a musical instrument. And I know that sounds really blasé, but those things really do help. I know we've spoken to people at Care First who have done those very things, and it gives them that sense of purpose. We all need a sense of purpose, and right now we all feel a bit stuck, I imagine. So it's about thinking, how do I move myself forward out of this without projecting too far into the future? So it's about working out what you really need to do, and just getting yourself moving in that way. And I know that's easier said than done, and I know there are some days, and I'm sure Chi's the same, we sit here and think, oh no, what are we going to do now? But we get there because we need to.
I have a question here. I have anxiety and stress, and this is impacting on my colleagues and is being taken further. Don't know how to manage my stress.
Okay, well, there's several things here. I think really what would be a very useful thing is for you to speak to one of the counsellors, because if you're talking about taking this further or your colleagues are involved, you might be experiencing all sorts of things, and in just a 2 or 3 minute question and answer on the webinar, it wouldn't be right for me to take you down that path. I do think have a call with Care First, and I would think about the people that you talk with. Are they appropriate people? Are they the ones that you want to be involved, and how are they going to support and help you? So also have a word with your manager. I think it's the manager that needs to know, because obviously in terms of duty of care, they will help and support you. And Care First is here also. I'm sorry I can't answer more than that. I just think given the description of what you've said there, I think it's just best for us to err on the side of caution and say speak to one of the counsellors. They will be there and help and support you.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Pat. So the questions have gone quiet. So if we just wait a few more minutes and see if anybody has any more questions, please feel free to ask. If you just pop the question using the panel on the side, Pat would be more than happy to answer them. Somebody has just asked a question. I am due to start a new role in a couple of weeks, struggling with the anxiety of not knowing what awaits me, office-based, home-based, etc. Any advice to deal with the anxiety in the meantime?
It sounds quite exciting, and that's not negating the fact you're feeling anxious about it. But I do think that, you know, something new and different and exciting that lies slightly ahead of us is perhaps something to look forward to. As you said, you don't really know how it's going to be. So I guess, you know, worrying about it now is not going to help you manage that. So maybe do that exercise I've just done with people listening now, which is to be sure about what you want and work around how you're going to do that. Talk it through with family and friends, but well done on a new role, and it sounds as though it'll work out well for you. And really, home and work, yes, it's a different. I don't like saying difficult, because for some people it isn't difficult, but for most of us it's very, very different, and we don't know what awaits us when we go back into the workplace. All we do know is it isn't going to be the same as it was. So good luck in the role, and remember that you'll be sent an email tomorrow that will ask you if you've got any more questions or comments, and if you send that through, people from Care First will respond.
Somebody's just popped in, I am in the freeze response. How do I manage work commitments?
Fight, flight, or freeze. Well, freeze actually keeps you safe, you know, because freeze is that bit that thinks, I'm like a rabbit in the headlights. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to move forward or backwards. I'm here. And that's a difficult place to be in, but it's about accepting it and saying, this is only now. I do know how to run if I need to, and I do know how to stay if I need to. So it's about focusing what you're doing right now and moving away from that very slowly. Again, speaking with one of the counsellors, they will help you move forward onto that. But I'm really glad you mentioned it, because when people ring Care First, they have often tried lots of things themselves. So they do tend to come to us when they are stuck in that freeze mode, because they just don't know which way to move. So with that in mind, you know, do phone and speak to one of the qualified counsellors.
I have a question here. I have had the tendency to compare myself to other people during this time. For example, feeling useless compared to friends who are working from home or have secure career futures, while I am furloughed and could be made redundant. I feel it could be affecting my relationships negatively. Any advice on this?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry that you're in that situation where you're furloughed and you don't have any idea of how things are going to pan out for you. And I can imagine those feelings must be difficult to endure when you see other people doing other things. And I think it's really important, and we all do it. We all compare ourselves with other people, and often that ends up shooting us in the foot, because we're setting goals that aren't really our goals. We're striving to be like someone else, and really you need to be like you. and whatever happens next, you know, you will find a way of coping with it. As I said, I'm so sorry you're on furlough. I know it's been difficult for many, many people, but try not to compare yourself to others. Just think about the good and positive qualities that you have as an individual, and obviously as a worker.
That's great, thanks, Pat. The questions have gone a bit quiet, so if anybody, like I said before, if anybody has any more questions, again, please feel free to ask. So someone's put on here, just as a bit more of a comment, really. I am going through the same as the other participant. Anxiety is impacting on my work and my team, and they've just said that they've developed a very close relationship with their manager and to help them through this. I think that's really important. I think if you can build relationships, work relationships with managers or anyone else that can support you within the organization, that's a really big plus, really big plus. Somebody's popped in here. I feel quite angry that friends are moaning about being at home 24/7 with their children and struggling with homeschooling. I would love to have all this extra time with my kids, but have been working throughout.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's again that we look at other people and think, actually, why have they got that and I've got this, and I would like that opportunity. And I think that's really difficult. That's really difficult. I do know that homeschooling isn't the piece of cake that some people say it is. I think it's quite difficult, particularly if you're working at home and having the children there and having to homeschool them, and if your partner's doing the same, it is a bit of a difficult task. But if you're still in the workplace and still working, I think really, you know, just focus on the good and positive things you're doing, because what you're doing is necessary for you at the moment. I can't really say more than that because it's just such a difficult situation to be in. But it's like when people talk about being angry about the people that are flouting the lockdown rules, I think we can't project all of that onto others in that case. We just have to be conscious of what we're doing. And it does sound as though you're really working hard. And I guess it would be quite easy to be resentful of those people that do have the time. And there really isn't a right and wrong answer to that. But it's a great statement that you've made. And I know it's not going to answer what you've said. Only that we at Care First would absolutely go along with that and say, yes, we can't imagine how difficult that must be.
I've got a question here. How can I support my partner whose boss is not at all supportive during this? My partner is struggling with depression, anxiety through this, and his work is being awful and expecting a lot. His work is even treating him negatively since he engaged with his union about health and safety in the workplace.
Okay, well, that again is a bit of a minefield question. I think really when you're talking about a partner or spouse, it's about saying just be there to support them and listen to them, and just tell them that you're there and you care. And that actually goes a long way. You know, you can say, I can't imagine how you must feel, but I am here and I do care. And that in itself might help. In terms of issues within conflict within the workplace for this person, it really is about getting them to speak with the manager and seeing if some resolution can be found.
Just more of maybe a comment. My work has increased considerably since lockdown, which has involved me working day and night to keep on top. I am a manager. I'm also finding it difficult to homeschool, etc., and seem to be taking it out on my family. It doesn't seem to be improving either.
Yeah, I guess if you've got the managerial responsibilities as well, it's really, really difficult. And there's me saying to staff on the line here, go and talk to your manager. So I guess that just puts more pressure on you. But that really is the chain of command. You speak to your manager and find out, you know, if they can help and support you. But it sounds as though you need some support for you. There is a part of the Care First service that is for managers. and it's our management support service. And all you have to do is phone the 0800 number and say which organisation you work for and that you're a manager who wants the support. And the counsellors will help and support you in more of a live coaching and helpful way than the the standard counselling. We would offer this thing called management support, and it would be a really good idea if you wanted to ring in and ask about it. You would get a response from the counsellors that would probably be helpful to you in all of that. And again, homeschooling, as I said, it's really not easy, and the time, and the children get bored and restless. And again, you know, working all those hours for you, it's not going to be good for you in the long term. And I know that you know that, but do have a chat with one of the counsellors and they will help you with some sort of plan of action.
Okay, well, thank you everyone today for your questions and attending this webinar. I hope you find some use through it. We'll be ending the webinar now. And again, thank you everyone. And if you do need further emotional support, please do give Care First a call. Thank you everyone.